Welcome to Marketecture, where you can get smart fast with in-depth interviews of leading technology vendors. I'm Jeremy Kagan, and I'm here with Kate Charnas, the CEO and founder of Lately.ai. How are you doing today, Kate?
Hey, Jeremy, I'm sweating, like everybody else in the country.
Can you give me like a specific, maybe using Gary Vaynerchuk as an example, get a specific instance of like what your technology would do to get that 12,000% increase, which I'll take that in pretty much anything.
Yeah, sure. So when we meet you, there's two layers here. So I'll give you the first, and if you want to know about the second, we can dive in there. But when we meet you, we ask for your connections to your social channels. So whether it's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. And we start to look at the analytics back to about a year or so. And inside your analytics, we're looking at the messaging that got you the highest engagement, the likes and the comments and the shares the most. And from that, we're looking at the words, the ideas, the sentence structures, and we're creating that custom writing model based on what we know has success for you. Now, this model is malleable. There are multiple opportunities for you to help teach it and also for it to start learning on its own, right? And then that's part two. We'll talk about that in a second. But so at the base level, once we have that model, now it's time to ingest and feed the brain the long-form content. The more you put in, the smarter it gets. Chapters of books, blogs, white papers, newsletters, any audio, any interview with your CEO, any webinar, podcast just like this. And in the case of video, for example, which is what Gary had used the most, it'll transcribe that video and it's reading the text, right? It's all based on the words. Reading the text with the model in mind, and it's looking to pull out the quotes that contain the model, and it takes those quotes, makes them into a social post with a link back to the full video and the 8 to 10 second clip of who said that quote right there, also in the social post. And by the way, as of 10 days ago, it also will start editing those quotes for you if it feels like it's a little wonky, right?
So it's really automating what, some smart, savvy social media manager might do to take content that's been sort of created in one format and really repurpose it for all the others.
Yes, exactly. It repurposes, and there's one caveat, which is the human must be involved because the AI is rarely perfect. About 20% of the time, it'll spit out something that is ready to go. Even I tweak it anyways because I'm a control freak. But the more you tweak it, the smarter and smarter it gets. So it might grab a sentence that starts with a non sequitur. So I said XYZ. All you have to do is take out "so I said" because the next word, guess what, is a verb. And then the AI starts to learn, starting sentences with verbs, i.e. calls to action, is commanding and then signifies trust and authority, right? All the things that we've been talking about here. So that human part, it's so funny, Jeremy, it's the hardest part because nobody wants to do anything.
Yeah. They want everything to be totally automated, but you've basically baked in, because of necessity and this importance in getting the voice right, somebody's got to moderate this.
Yeah, and it has to be, it's not because we can't, we don't want to, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to pull the je ne sais quoi out of human existence, out of human interactions and communications. It'll kill it, right? If you're curious, I'll touch on this, for example. Theater of the mind is something I love, right? Mm-hmm. The theater of the mind makes listening and reading very powerful because in those instances, a human must fill in the blanks because the video isn't there, the pictures aren't there. You have to imagine what the missing pieces are. Now, if you are a good on-air host and a good author, you know this, and you leave the space for the human to fill in those blanks, but you also have the skills to guide them to fill in the space in the right places of sorts. The result is that the human feels that this conversation is a two-way street and not a one-way street.
So more providing the cues in the conversation to paint the right picture. Mm-hmm. Well, let me actually ask you then, because it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is processing the text and adapting it appropriately. Do you take into account visual cues like a Butterworks or somebody like that?
No.
So it's not saying this is the elements of the video or the audio that are nonverbal, or visual or audio. So it's just the text processing.
Just the text. And there's a couple reasons. Number one, we just don't want to do that. Number two, pictures can lie.
So you're focused on this stuff that is parsable, and it's what the content actually is, the meat of the content. And so if someone is like more in a visual medium, would you say they're less likely to want to do this?
Yeah. If Instagram is your best friend, I mean, Lately does publish to Instagram, but that's not where our star users live. Mostly they live in Twitter and LinkedIn.
Thanks for listening. To hear the complete interview, subscribe at marketecture.tv.